looking back at why my mother taught me all those things at such a young age, it wasn't her plan and her purpose. It was God's plan and God's purpose. And the reason why he had my mother teach me so much stuff at a young age was because he wanted to teach me how he intends to communicate with me. And the first way God communicates with us is through other people. But we need to be able to sift through what other people are saying and pick out the messages that God has for each and every one of us, because God speaks to everybody through other people. We just don't notice it because we don't know the rules. If you know the rules, then you can pick out the godly communication from where demons and devils and people and manipulators and every other aspect of human communication comes into play. Of course, education is godly too, but the main way God speaks to us as believers is through other people. There are other ways, and I learned this as a young boy too, that God also speaks to us through dreams. And I remember I was probably about 5 years old, and my dad had a talk with me about reform school because I was sometimes a bad little boy, and he wanted me to know the consequences of my actions. And that night I had a dream that I was in a pit, and it was made out of brick, and I was about 10 feet down, and it was in a desert, and there was nobody else in that pit but me, and it woke me up. It was my first night terror, and one of the few I've ever had. And I know that was a message from God saying that what my dad was saying was true. Just as I've gone through life and I found things that my mom said were absolutely true too. And, you know, most people don't recognize that that's God talking to them. They'll just say, well, the dream my dad is saying is just us trying to work out what's happening in our everyday life. And you can kind of see that in the example I just used. But in retrospect, looking at it from my point of view now, that was definitely God trying to communicate with me. And I had another dream. I was in second grade, and I was in a school play, and it was a bit little part, but I instantly remembered that everything that I was experiencing for the last 30 seconds, I dreamed about a week before. And it kind of scared me because, I mean, mom didn't teach me that. And so I came to realize far later in life that God, throughout my life, has given me images of things that were going to happen in my future so that I'd be prepared for it when it came along, because he's got a plan and a purpose for my life. So first we got other people, and then we got dreams. A vision, like a whole bunch of different jigsaw puzzle pieces that all come together. It can be visual, it can be mental. There are a lot of different kinds of visions in the body, out of the body, and we go online and we see, you know, people talking about near-death experiences, and I'm building up because that's one of the ways God has spoken to me too. But we got to confirm these things. Mom taught me that you got to make sure that when you have an understanding that it matches with God's word, or you hear somebody say something, it's got to match with God's word. If God says something to you 10 times in one day, it's a pretty good chance he's giving you confirmation. Or if he gives two of you confirmation at the same time, everything that comes from God, he will confirm, including his Bible or any other writings out there that have interesting concepts that you want to look into. For example, another aspect I was taught about God from Eastern philosophy is the, you know, oneness of everything being connected, and that's God. Well, they're obviously worshiping the creation and not the creator, but it is true. Everything is connected, but it's connected by the creation and the power of God that's outside of this realm and outside of this world. And so you have to have the right perspective on what you are looking at to understand, is that from God? And if somebody warns you and then the next minute you're falling in the trap you were just warned to stay out of, then you learn. And so that was one of my big takeaways as an adult, that my mom's teaching was directed by God so that I would be able to navigate the ability of learning how to communicate with him and get the answers to any questions I have. So I could build up to where I am now, having the ability to find out anything I need to know. Having the mind of Christ, he answers all my questions in due time, through a number of different ways that he talks to me. And we'll get more into that in my next video.